What's up, friends? I've been to Howl-O-Scream twice this year, and I'm here to share my experiences with you in this review. What are the best houses, scare zones, and shows you shouldn't miss? So come have a spooky adventure with me, Chrispys.
Like and subscribe!
Let's jump right into scare zones. They do have quite a few good ones this year, and one that didn't really impress me all that much. Let's start with my least favorite being Big Ed's Demolition Derby. My biggest issue with this scare zone is that it lacks in the scare department. Mostly, it was wacky, waving, inflatable, arm flailing tube men, if you know you know, and some Mad Max rejects. The zone was fairly interactive and fun, but it seemed more like an apocalyptic party than anything else. Speaking of the apocalypse, let's get into one of my favorite scare zones, the Junkyard. This zone is the apocalypse done right, as opposed to Big Ed's. The theming, however, is what makes this zone so fantastic. If you have gone to Howl-O-Scream in the past, you are bound to see at least one prop that you recognize. Whether it's the old Motel Hell, or Backwater Bayou signs, or even the Slender Man statue, there is something in this zone that is bound to hit that nostalgic feeling for any long-time Howl-O-Scream fan. This is the one scare zone that you can miss by accident. The rest of them you'll pass through your journey around the park to all of the different houses, shows, and attractions. This scare zone is located in the front of the park between the Build-A-Bear and the security office. Next, we have Beyond the Veil. My first trip to Howl-O-Scream this year, this scare zone was not one of my favorites. It was opening night after all, and I don't think the scare actors have truly found their characters yet. However, when I went back, this quickly became one of my top scare zones. The actors figured out who they were supposed to be. They also had the bungee person performing tandem jump scares with nearby actors this week as well. The theming does make you feel like you're in a mystical forest as well. Not to mention, the backdrop of Sesame Street at night always works wonders for whatever scare zone they put here. Now, Raven's Mill was the complete opposite for me. Opening night, this was possibly my favorite scare zone. With that being said, I believe both times I walked through this scare zone on my second visit, they were in the middle of a shift switch. The first trip, this scare zone was full of scare actors coming from every angle, with multiple stilt walkers and actors with chainsaws among others. The second trip, I saw one stilt walker and one person with a chainsaw in this area on both of my walkthroughs, so mileage may vary in this scare zone. Next, we have
The Shortcut.
I honestly think the biggest problem with this scare zone is it seems to have an identity crisis. You're cutting through a cemetery essentially, and while I understand the undertakers, I'm not quite sure what the female characters are supposed to be. I'm not sure if they're ghosts, nuns, or ghouls. Not to mention the random werewolves. If you have been to Howl-O-Scream this year, or even better if you're one of the scare actors, I would love to know what those characters are supposed to be. Leave it down in the comments below. Now, last and certainly not least, is my favorite scare zone this year, Sin City Zombies. There was not a single time I went through this scare zone where the actors weren't completely on point. Their makeup and costumes were fantastic. The energy these scare actors had was amazing as well. They played their roles so well, it felt like walking through an actual zombie film. This zone also had people running and cowering in fear almost every time I went through it. This area also had one of the best physical sets outside of the Junkyard. For all of these reasons, this is my do not miss scare zone for this year. Let's talk houses. I have to say, this year I liked every house available and even had a hard time deciding which my favorite house was. So let's just start right there with my favorite house, Stranglewood Estate. The vibe in this house is fantastic. It's very eerie and has some really cool effects that a lot of other houses at Howl-O-Scream don't have. One of the coolest effects was someone on a zip line who flies out of a painting. This house is off the beaten path a little bit, and it's over near Cheetah Hunt. It is the only house away from the main loop that you can miss. Step right up to the newest house to hit the big stage at Howl-O-Scream, D.H. Baggum's Circus appear. Now I've learned personally from being a clown scare actor at this event how many people are terrified of clowns. If you're one of the many people who have that fear, then this is the house that is going to creep you out the most. There are many other scares that await you in this fantastic new house as well. By the way, don't eat the popcorn because it really has eyes for you. Now be careful where you wander, because I heard there's a witch of the woods. This house is probably the darkest of them all, really making you feel like you're getting deeper and deeper into the woods the further you go. The pathways also get more narrow as you continue, giving you the feeling that the woods are closing in on you. Overall, the ambience is amazing, but beware of those cultists who want to sacrifice you to the witch. Do you have what it takes to take on the creatures of the night in the forgotten Uprising? This vampire-themed house starts with you outside of a cave, with vampire hunters warning you and asking if you're here to help fight the vamps. This house had some great props throughout it and relies on them to distract you from the scares that are guaranteed to come. Now I will say this house had the longest line of the night, and it was pretty consistent throughout the night, most likely due to the fact that Cirque-X-Scream lets out right in front of the queue. With Halloween nearly upon us, Christmas is just around the corner. But it's already arrived at Busch Gardens within the residents' home for the holidays. I found this to be more of a comical house. Not that it didn't scare people, because I definitely saw people coming out screaming. However, this house is a satire on Christmas. Everything from Grandma making little Tina finish her cannibalized dinner, to Santa asking you to pull his finger. It is, however, one of the most gruesome houses of the year, with a lot of blood and guts everywhere, and even some legs squished into a box under the Christmas tree. Hopefully none of your Christmas gifts reside in the residence. The houses this year all felt very different and unique from each other. The main thing I will emphasize is don't come to Howl-O-Scream expecting Halloween Horror Nights. Busch Gardens doesn't have the budget that Universal has, so they rely on their scare actors more than fancy props and animatronics. With that being said, this is also Howl-O-Scream's biggest advantage. The scare actors are free to do what they want and play their role as they see fit. Whereas Halloween Horror Nights has scripts that most actors have to follow. If you would like to know what goes into being a scare actor, let me know down in the comments, and I'll make a special video about the experiences from the crazy audition process to the ins and outs of the event. Lastly, let's move on to shows. Starting with the Rolling Bones, which plays classic rock music inside of the Dragonfire Grill. This is the one show I did miss both nights, so I cannot give my opinion on it, unfortunately. My advice would be check show times and grab some food or a drink inside of the Dragonfire and catch their show at the same time. If you've had the chance to see it, I want to know your impressions of it in the comment section. There's also Scare-E-Oke, which if you have the guts or some liquid courage, you could get on stage and sing your heart out. You could always just watch others go up and have a good time singing as well, which is always a good time too. Lastly, we have Cirque-X-Scream, which is a fantastic show all around. From high-flying aerialists to balancing acts, you won't be disappointed by this thrilling show. I made sure to see it on both of my trips this year, and both times I was equally amazed. This is definitely a must-do when you come to Howl-O-Scream yourself. Howl-O-Scream also offers specialty food items and drinks specifically for the event. I didn't try any of the food, however I did get the poison apple mixed drink with the Collector Light Up Skull Cup. It was a decent drink, however it didn't taste much like apple to me. It had more of a lemon or lime flavor in my opinion. Still, it wasn't a bad drink overall. All in all, Howl-O-Scream is a lot of fun. You can easily do all of the houses and scare zones within a few hours most nights, which is a huge plus. On my second trip, we took our time and we did all of the houses. We went through the scare zones twice, we saw Circus-Scream, and got a bite to eat in the Dragonfire Grill and relaxed for about 30 minutes. So my biggest advice is don't rush around. Hop on a ride or two in between houses if you want, and just enjoy your time. Howl-O-Scream is a great event, especially for the price, since they constantly run specials all season long, so don't ever pay full price. If you found this video helpful, please give it a like. If you're not subscribed, now's a good time to do so. And if you haven't seen my video walking around all the scare zones, check it out now. And I'll see you real soon.